So to review what a percent is a part to total ratio where the second quantity or the total is always going to be 100. There are many strategies we can use to solve percent problems. And today we're going to talk about bar models. So we're going to start by drawing a bar. It's similar to a tape diagram in that it's just a long rectangle. And it's going to give us a good visual as far as solving percent problems. And in this video, we are just going to be talking about finding the part when you're given the total. So we know that 100% is always the whole thing, right? If 100% of students are boys, that means it's just, this class is just made up of boys. So the whole thing is going to be represented by one long rectangle. Let's look at the first question we have here. What is 30% of 200? So what we're going to do is we're going to draw our bar model, which is just nothing more than a long rectangle. And we're going to label this by percent and by the number. So we know that the whole thing is 100%. And in this case, which is the default, we're going to divide our rectangle into pieces that are each 10%. And so to get to 100%, we would need 10 little pieces. So let's do that. And I like to divide my bar in half, and then each half will get 5 pieces. So the whole thing is 100, and I'm going to label this as 0%, and each of these is 10%. So this would be 10%, 20, 30, 40. And this might seem like a pain in the neck, but it's really kind of important because it's going to keep you from making careless mistakes. I know I've done it. And it's going to keep you from getting confused as to which is the part and which is the whole number. So we have this bar, which represents 100%. In this particular case, what is 100%? What is the whole thing? Well, the whole thing is 200, right? So we're going to say that this whole thing is 200. And we want to find 30% of the 200. Well, if each of these pieces is 10%, and we want to find 30%, we want 3 boxes, which would be 30%. Now, how do we find that? Well, when we've done ratios and we've done tape diagrams, what we know is that when we take a rectangle and we divide it into equal pieces, each of those pieces have to represent the same amount. So if the whole thing is 200 and I divided this into 10 equal pieces, then the division is easy to do. I'm just going to move the decimal point, and each piece is going to represent 20. So I'm going to put 20. All the boxes have to be the same, just like in a tape diagram or a fraction model, because this really is a fraction model. Each piece represents 1/10, which is 10%. Now, what do I want? I want 30%, and so look, that's going to be here. And so I have 3 boxes, and each box represents 20, and 3 times 20 is 60. So 30% of 200 is 60. Okay, let's look at a different problem, because we don't always have to divide our model into 10%. sections, although you can. Let's look at 60% of 35. So let's make our bar model. Okay, and now 60% rather of 35. So I know that the total is going to be 35. And I know that this whole rectangle represents 100%. Do you see that 60%, I could divide my bar into 10% pieces. But because I'm looking for 60%, in this case, I can divide my bar into 5 pieces, each of which would represent 20%. Right? Because 20 times 5 times 20% rather is going to equal 100. So 0, this would be 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and that would be 100. And the whole 100% is equal to 35. So how am I going to find what goes in each box? I have to take 35 and I have to divide it evenly among the 5 boxes. So 35 divided by 5 is equal to 7. And so each box gets a 7. And if you want to double check, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Okay, what am I interested in? I am interested in 60%. Okay, so this would be 20%, 40%, 60%. And so what is 65%? I'm sorry, what is 60% of 35? Well, it's 3 boxes times 7. And 3 sevens are 21. So 60% of 35 equals 21. Okay, let's try another one. Oh, this one is interesting. This is 50%. So I want to know what is 50% of 90. Well, 50% is actually a benchmark percent. 50% is equal to half, and we should all know that. And since 50% is equal to a half, I'm going to make my life really easy and just divide my rectangle in half. This is going to be 0%, 50%, and 100%. And I know that 100% is going to be equal to 90. Okay, how do I find what goes in each box? Same thing. 90, I have to divide evenly between 2 boxes. So each box is going to be 45. Okay, and what am I interested in? I'm interested in 50%. And so 50%, there's only one box. 50% of 90 equals 45. And there we go. Now, let's see. I have one last problem. Here's save the word problem for last. In a school, 75% of students made honor roll. If there are 800 students in the school, how many made honor roll? Okay, bar model, start off. Okay, I know that this is 100%. The rectangle represents the whole thing. And I know that there are 800 students. So the whole thing is 800. Now, if I look, I see I'm looking for 75%. Well, you know what? If I have a multiple of 25%, I can divide my rectangle into 4 boxes, each of which will represent 25%. And if you are wondering how we can relate that and remember that, well, a dollar has 4 quarters, and each quarter is 25 cents. Okay? So if I start with 0% and I have 4 boxes, each box is 25%. That would be 50, 75. Okay. And so what do I have to do? I want to find what goes in each box. Well, 800 divided by 4 equals 200. And so 200 goes in each box. Okay, now what am I looking for? How many boxes? I want 75%. So this would be 25, 50, 75%. So we want 3 boxes, and each box has 200. So that would be 600. And so 600 students made the honor roll. And if you get really good at this method, this bar model method of finding percents, maybe you can make the honor roll too.